Hello guys, TKG here for your comfortable LostArk life. Today, I'd like to cover the recent updates in the KR region. Lately, I've been talking a lot about the game, and I'd like to share some thought on how it could improve in the future. As I mentioned in previous videos, LostArk currently faces not only structural issues, but also still has some confusing user interface and user experience elements within the game. So I'd like to take a moment to briefly highlight these problems. Recently, one of the biggest issues pointed out by the many people is the question, are they actually playing the game themselves? Despite ongoing updates and patches to the user experience and user interface, there are still plenty of complaints and dissatisfaction about various aspects of the game. So why is this discomfort being emphasized? It is because the question, are they really playing the game, is directly connected to these frustrations. Many of the issues are related to direct user experience, which is why these concerns keep coming up. First, just by looking at this combat debuff user interface, you can immediately see the issues. This is the user interface we are currently dealing with. When you look at it, you can tell right away what kind of impression it gives, right? But honestly, it's really hard to figure out what's what at a glance. The debuff user interface applied to enemy is extremely hard to read, and it looks way too complicated. In particular, some of the icons shown here only differ in color, while others have the same icon but just different durations. And on top of that, all the debuffs that I apply myself are displayed together. So it is tough to quickly spot which debuff is most important and currently affecting my characters. What's more, players sometimes use battle items like the Dark Grenade to improve their performance, but when this happens, the debuff window becomes an absolute mess. And on top of that, sometimes the buff window switches to a plus window and just disappears, making it even harder to tell whether the Dark Grenade debuff is still active or not. Simply put, this debuff user interface makes it impossible to tell which effects are seen as buff for my characters, or when I should throw another Dark Grenade. Plus, unnecessary or low priority debuffs are all crammed into the same window, making it extremely difficult to get accurate information at a glance. So at the very least, in this debuff user interface, low priority buffs should be pushed to the back, and the buffs that are currently important for your character should be highlighted, maybe by adding a border to make them stand out. I think this would provide players with a much better gameplay experience. Of course, there's a buff that apply at a party level. For example, the Dark Grenade debuff is a debuff that affects the entire raid party. I feel like these should also be displayed in a way that's much easier for everyone to recognize. And honestly, one of the most unpleasant experiences has to do with the mount system. Recently, LostArk finally allowed players to use their mount in many types of content. The problem is that the actual experience of using your mount is quite frustrating. For example, in one of the daily contents, Guardian Raid, you still have to go through this awkward process. If you need to throw a flare, you have to dismount, throw the items, and then get back on your mount. And that's not all. Valkyrie raids have similar issues. When you enter Act 1, there are obstacles blocking your way, so someone has to dismount, clear the obstacle, and then get back on their mount. Besides that, there are also frequent cases where you have to dismount for minor skirmishes. Honestly, I wish they would just pick one approach and stick to it. If the goal is to make things more user-friendly, then I hope they truly commit to that direction and deliver a genuinely smooth experience. In fact, Guardian Raid borrowed some ideas from Monster Hunter, so I understand what they were going for. However, I think it is time to move on from that concept. The two games have completely different styles and objectives right now, and the idea of hunting with special items just doesn't fit the current gameplay of LostArk. In Monster Hunter, using items feels meaningful and impactful, but in LostArk, the system just feels like unnecessary roadblock that disrupt the flow of gameplay and hurt the overall user experience. I think it would be better like if enemy location were simply shown as soon as you enter the area. And in LostArk, although it took a long time, we finally have a unified in-game stat called combat power for character. Of course, it is really convenient, but the problem is, when it comes to actually using the stat, its usefulness is a bit limited. Being able to see it all at a glance is great, but the issue is you have to actually open up the character information window to see this combat power stat. Why is this a big problem? Honestly, it's not a big deal. The real issue is for the person forming a party. They have to open up the profile of everyone who applies just to check if their character is at the right level. So basically, the way you check a specific character hasn't really changed. The only improvement is that you can see it right away after opening the window. But would it be better if combat power was just shown next to the character's name? That way you could quickly see and decide whether to accept or reject someone. And something else came to mind. Why is that you can only apply to one party at a time? Why is there still no feature that lets you apply to multiple parties at once? And why can't you apply to parties together with friends? And this is actually an issue that's been raised recently. Right now, Ark Grid, to be honest, it still feels like an unfinished system. The biggest problem is that the balance design is somewhat broken. To elaborate, players are coming up with unintended strategies and builds that go against the game's original directions. And this is causing the problem to grow even more. Especially when it comes to balance, things are even more sensitive, and it raises suspicions about whether proper testing was even done before release. Honestly, I have a hard time understanding what the intention was here. To briefly explain what has happened so far right now, Ark Grid allows you to mix and match different concepts, not just stick to one. If you use these so-called community mixed builds, the efficiency and performance of your character become ridiculously high. That's why I keep wondering, do the developers even play the game themselves? This is one of the main reasons why that suspicion keeps growing. The main issue is that they created a system that allows you to mix and match different elements, but they didn't anticipate that players would actually do this. And the fact that they were unaware of these ridiculous builds emerging until now just proves it. In other words, it makes you wonder if they did their work half-heartedly, or like I mentioned earlier, if this content was released without any real hands-on experience or testing with the game. Speaking of performance, another thing that comes to mind is the so-called in-game DPS meters they just added. It still doesn't provide accurate information. For example, you cannot get objective measurements of your character's actual performance right now. Simply put, you should be able to see your raw performance without including the support matrix from support characters. But even that's not possible yet. At the same time, there is no accurate information about how precisely you landed your positional attacks or whether you missed them. So it is not easy to get a clear and objective combat data about yourself. I really hope these areas get improved as soon as possible. Honestly, in all the recent communication stream, the main content has mostly been apologies for their own incompetence. But to be honest, I don't really know how much longer they can keep passing these issues off as just a result of their lack of ability. Honestly, even as I talk about the things I wish would improve, I'm starting to feel worn out. I'm not even hoping for structural changes at this point. Honestly, they haven't even solved the practical hands-on problem, so expecting anything beyond that just seems unrealistic. The truth is, I feel tired. After pouring so much time and affection into this game, it is really disappointing to see that in the past few months, they haven't even grasped what's going on and have just neglected things. As someone who loved this game for a long time, I really hope they make improvements quickly. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, everyone, and always, thanks for your big support. Hope this video was a little help for your LostArk journey. And if you like my videos, hit the sub for more upcoming infos. I'll come back with more useful infos in the next video.